So just to give you an idea of the blinds that we ran this morning with the dogs, I'm at the top of the hill at the third blind, which would have been the left blind. And we ran from back here, way back here in the shade. Nice and cool back there. And but we had a blind running from there all the way across the pasture to the back here. Way on the back side of those hay bales, back there at that tree, back there. So you really lost your dog right in here because that slopes so much right there that you actually lose your dog. If you don't have them on line in this area, it drops off so much, you lose sight of them, and they may pop out to the right or to the left, all over the place down there. So you better have your dog on line for that one. The other one was at this base of this tree right here, and there's a lot of slope from there to the tree. You lose sight of the dog right there, so you got to have them on line before you ever get to that point, or you're in trouble, because they'll pop out all over the place back here. But the line to it was, you know, here's where the blind was, all the way across the field and back here. And then the third blind was this one, where I'm at. So they had to come up this hill, and this is a much larger slope than it looks. If you're standing back there, this is a pretty high hill that we're on. So by the time we got to this blind, they were tired. And not only that, the wind was blowing this direction. So on the right blind, it was pushing them to the right. And on the middle one, it was pushing them, this slopes this way. So it was pushing them back toward the old blind, and the slope of the lay of the land was pushing them that way as well. So you were fighting all that to get them to that blind. And then by the time you came to this one, they had just to have a lot of juice left just to drive up this hill. Not only that, the wind was pushing them back. You had a ton of suction. This blind was just, their heads were all over here. They're thinking this way. So by the time we get to here, they've got to put out a lot of effort to dig that shoulder into that wind that's pushing them this way and drive them up this hill to this top blind here. So it took a lot out of them because they were pretty gassed, and we had to be careful because it's warmer. And one thing I do before we run blinds on or even marks on a hot day, I take the hose off my trailer and hook it up to the pressurized tank and wet them down real good, soak them down real good before we ever run them. And that way they're cool before we start, because some dogs run a little hotter than others, and we want to make sure they're as cool as they can be before we start. So another little setup we did, we came up here and you can see the slope of this hill. You can see how, I mean, it's sloped. We threw a mark from behind this tree back here, up and down, landed right in there on the other side of that ditch. That's actually a ditch right there. It's just a nice little easy grade, but it's significant when you get down there. Picked that up, come back, and we ran the blind, this keyhole blind, right through the gap, past that hay bale to the right, back to the back there. Young dogs, we walked them down and caught the blind. We ran it a lot shorter for them. The older ones, advanced dogs, we ran it from back here, but pretty good distance. Let them pick it up, come back, ran the blind. Ton of suction this way because that old blind's over there for one, and then they picked up the mark over here and then had to run that blind. So they had plenty of rest in between those two setups though, but we made sure and kept them cool and hosed down really good and let them cool off in the shade and have a bucket of water and relax before we ever put them back in the trailer, make sure they're okay. Because days like today start getting a little warmer. This is midday now. We're finished with all the hard stuff. We got it started earlier and finished before it got too hot, and just can't take any chances on days like today. You got to keep them hydrated, keep them cooled down. If you get a dog that's stressed, we didn't put any collar pressure on them, just some little light corrections, but mostly attrition. Walked out with some of the young dogs, shortened up some of the blinds with some of the young dogs, did what we needed to do to help them get through it without a lot of reps, because pressure and stress on a warm day is not a good combination. So we try to limit the stress and the pressure on days like today, and most any day for that matter. But we just don't want to put pressure and added stress on a dog that's already getting warm, because if you're not careful, you can get in trouble real quick. So we don't ever want to take any chances with their health. So anyway, that's the fun we had for today. Gonna go do some other things. See you later.